What did you study in college?
Originally studying mechanical engineering.
So basically, like, what made you change from a career in that field to front end development?
So that's a great question. I had originally got into mechanical engineering because I liked understanding how things worked and building things. And I was under the impression that the best way to find a career in which I could get that value of building things, the satisfaction of building things, was through mechanical engineering or traditional engineering in that sense. Once I graduated and got a job, I found out that that wasn't really the case. I was never really doing stuff that was on the cutting edge of my field. It was more sort of like grunt work and was not the sort of satisfaction that I was hoping for. At the same time, growing up as a kid, I had built websites using smaller website builders like GeoCities and FreeWebs and things like that. So it wasn't actual traditional development, but the satisfaction of actually building a website was there, and that's what I was looking for. And so when my brother, you, got a job in development, and I saw that it was a viable, successful career path, it was a no-brainer that this would provide me the sort of satisfaction I was looking for in understanding how things work and building them and having a creation that was my own. And so, yeah, it was a no-brainer to get into development at that point.
Yeah, and I remember those times when you were working in construction project management. You were very stressed out. You were, I mean, more stressed than I've ever seen you, and I've known you your whole life. And you worked really hard in college to go after the career that you thought you wanted. And I remember just a funny story is that, like, when I was, you mentioned AWA was your first dev job, and that was because I had worked with them. That was actually my first A/B test developer job, and when I moved on to Clearhead, they were looking for some work to be done. And while I was busy, I said, "Well, I can't. I don't have much time here to help you guys, but." My brother Matt, he's he's not enjoying his current career right now, and he's working really hard to learn front end development. He could, this would be a great opportunity. It's like part time. It's starting out small, and I do remember that you would come home. This is back when we were living with mom, or I was living with mom, and you would come home periodically. And there was this one time where I was working the job. It was a 100% remote job, and I was in the kitchen. Down there in my pajamas at, like, I don't know, it was like 11 a.m. And you had taken off from your job to come home for, I think it was like right before a holiday or whatever, and you just saw me like in the kitchen with mom, and you were like, what is this? Are you working right now? Like, because you came from a job that's very stressful. You were commuting into New York City, and yeah, I just remember you were just like, wow, like there are other jobs out there that have more flexibility, and I guess for you, that seemed attractive to you too, because you could still have that element of building things, which is not with all the other stress that was coming with your current job, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, even among my peers who were not doing development but were in other fields, comparing my life to theirs when I was in construction, where I was working a minimum of 10 hours a day, sometimes some weekends, usually longer than 10 hours, waking up at 6 a.m. Or earlier to commute into New York City. So I had like at least a 45-minute commute, coupled with an extremely stressful job as it was. And just looking at where my career path would be in construction and seeing that people who were, in their 40s looking like they were coming up on their 60s because the job was so stressful and they would spend no time at home with their families, and realize this is not where I want to be at that point in my career in life. And so I had known that I wanted to change careers, but still get that satisfaction of building things, and to see the level of flexibility that developers had. I mean, it was just, yeah, it was a no-brainer to have that much flexibility and work-life balance while still getting the satisfaction of doing something I love. I mean, yeah, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah, you're much happier now, and it's actually really great to like have someone like in the family that, like, you've actually helped me out with like a lot of things. Like, just there's just things you come across that you're just like, I don't know what's happening here. This is a really weird thing that's going on, and I just need a second opinion. And it's always a lot easier to talk to, like, a family member like you that's just doing this on your own, sometimes you don't want to bug the rest of your team if it's more of like a curiosity, I would say, than something that's really like blocking you from getting a project done. So it's actually been really cool to kind of like, share some of that with you and vice versa, kind of just help each other out with those types of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So you do A/B test development. What do you consider sort of the hardest part of it for you personally?
So probably the biggest challenge is just um, never knowing entirely what's going on the site that you're working on, right? Because we only have access to the front end. Now, technically, we have access to everything that we would need, right? But a lot of times, all the JavaScript on the client's page is going to be minified, and so there's always that thought of any change you make to the page could potentially have a catastrophic effect, right? It doesn't matter what you do. If you add a class or remove a class, there could be some event listener that's going to query the DOM, do a fresh query of the DOM, and look for something with that class. Any minuscule change could potentially have an unintended effect. So just uh, being safe with what we're doing and just not screwing up the client's site. Now, obviously, that doesn't really happen all that often, but it's something that's always in the back of my mind, and it's a challenge of like it's a gray area. We don't really know for sure, and being a developer, one of the things I like about development is you always know how the code is going to work, right? You like JavaScript is behaves by a certain set of rules. And so that's what I like about it. There's no gray area. There's no ambiguity. In our line of work, we don't necessarily know exactly what's going to happen. If there's some unknown CSS rule or event listener that we didn't take into account. So that's a big challenge. And then just certain limitations with third-party scripting in terms of what we can and cannot do. Certain things that certain test ideas that the client wants to run that we just flat out can't do from our perspective, being a third-party script. So that's a limiting factor, which is unfortunate, but we can do the majority of things that clients want to do.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you, just kind of finishing up here, what kind of advice would you give for, either a new developer or a developer that's new to A/B test development?
So that's a good question. So yeah, A/B test development is really sort of unique in the challenges that it presents. I really don't think there's any other situation out there where you can, run into the technical issues that we run into. Now, they're not complicated issues, but they're just weird. They're unique. Timing conditions, race conditions, and other issues like that, dealing with single page applications and stuff like that. But the thing that I would tell young developers just starting out is fundamentals are key. Fundamentals are the most important thing that you could possibly do. And so focus on good HTML, focus on good CSS, focus on layout in CSS. Don't worry about making it pretty with borders and font sizes and colors and things like that. The most important thing is layout. And if you can get really good at layout, especially Flexbox and Grid, you'll be leaps and bounds ahead of other developers who are just like playing trial and error with trying to get inline blocks and flows to work. That's number one. And then when it comes to JavaScript is don't learn anything besides vanilla JavaScript until you are fully 100% confident with your vanilla JavaScript skills, because Stack Overflow and everybody will throw jQuery your way, they'll throw frameworks your way, and unless you're really good at vanilla JavaScript, it's just going to confuse you and prolong how long it'll take you to learn the rest of those frameworks. So fundamentals are key.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. Cool. Well, so last up is the lightning round, and I'm just gonna fire off, 10 questions to you. Just meant to have a short answer or a sentence or two. Let's start with question one. What would be your preferred zombie apocalypse weapon?
Probably shotgun.
Shotgun. Why is that?
I don't know. It's the first thing that came to mind with like zombie movies or something like that. Is the guy who always has a shotgun, and
Yeah.
I guess you can kind of like corner yourself and just let them come to you, and you'll be all right. I don't know.
I think that's what you chose when we last played Left 4 Dead 2.
Yeah.
What was the last song you had on repeat?
On repeat, I listen to a lot of atmospheric music from the Elder Scrolls soundtrack because it's
Oh
good
man,
coding music.
I gotta interject here. So we share the same Spotify account. I mooch off of you, and we came to just agreement. You're just a nice guy, and you let me use your Spotify for when you're not using it, and we don't have a family plan. So if I had it open and you chose a song, I would hear it on my side, and vice versa. So we're always like stepping over each other's toes with that. The funny thing is that I have it. I think a lot of people have their Spotify, so it auto opens when they start up their computer. I don't know. I think it's like a default setting. And I would say 6 out of 7 days that I open my computer, Spotify's already open and it is playing the Elder Scrolls soundtrack. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, this happened this morning too. Is I noticed that, and I kind of want to hear it too because I love it so much too. But I know that if I were to click play on my side, it would rob you of hearing it. So what I did this morning is I was like, oh, what's he listening to? And I saw, I think it was like from past to present, and I just YouTubed it, and like we were basically listening it to the same
It's the
thing.
best coding music. It's just
Yeah.
relaxing. It's great.
Favorite car.
Favorite car, Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Favorite quote or saying.
Favorite quote. Oh man, I used to have so many good quotes in the day. I don't know anymore. I'll go professional with adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it.
Nice. Favorite morning or nightly ritual that you do.
Ritual, interesting. um, Eating breakfast.
Okay. Favorite developer learning resource.
Oh, I am very passionate with this response. It's Wes Boss, the guy Wes Boss, and anything he does, Twitter, YouTube, his courses, he's single-handedly like increased my knowledge like tenfold. He's the best. Everyone should check him out.
Awesome. Favorite video game.
Now that's a tough question. I really don't know. May I'll go current and say The Witcher 3.
Dawn or dusk.
Um, Dusk.
From a scale of 1 to 10, how hot do you like the water in the shower?
I guess 8.
Okay. Lastly, most embarrassing store you might have been seen shopping at.
I haven't gone to a store in so long.
Or maybe
Uh,
e-commerce website you've been shopping on during
yeah,
quarantine.
e-commerce was. Most embarrassing store. I don't even really shop anymore. Um, I guess I'll say Newegg, buying PC parts. Some people might consider that nerdy, I guess.
Geeking out. Awesome,
Yeah.
man. Well, it's great talking, great interviewing you. It's cool stuff, hearing your side of things. I mean, it's pretty cool to have a brother that does the exact same job as me. It's just really
Yeah,
cool. Any social media or projects you'd like to share with anyone?
it is. So at Colo Matthew.
Awesome.